Very good afternoon. Good morning to some of you zooming in from the Netherlands. It's 4 o'clock afternoon time here in Bangkok. We are waiting two more minutes before we will open up this webinar. And thank you everyone for participating, and we'll be back soon. Again, a very warm welcome here from Bangkok, from the Netherlands Embassy. My name is Hans van der Born, Executive Director of the Untitled Chamber of Commerce. And thank you all for zooming in wherever you are in the world. Most of you are in the ASEAN region for a serious gaming, a fun while solving serious challenges. So we would like to welcome you to this. We hope it's going to be a fun webinar. We have, of course, a speaker who knows everything about serious gaming. But before we will introduce TNO and Nicolien, we will, of course, say a few welcoming words on behalf of the co-organizing chambers, because today is again another webinar in co-organization of we call ADCN. And ADCN stands for the ASEAN Dutch Chamber Network. And together with my colleagues around this region, we would like to say welcome. And who are the participating chambers in the ASEAN region? Those are colleagues from the Singapore area, ADB Dutch Cham. And I see Ingrid is already saying hello. Hi Ingrid, thank you for joining us this afternoon. It's 5 o'clock, I believe, in Singapore time. We also have our friends from Vietnam, DBAV, the Dutch Business Network Indonesia, from Indonesia, of course. The DCCP in the Philippines, and colleague Mitchell is also in this Zoom. And I noticed Monique from the Netherlands is also zooming in. So hi Mitchell, thank you for joining. And Monique, of course, it's early morning over there. And last but not least, MDBC, Marco Winter. I saw you are also here from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Marco, thank you for joining this webinar as well. And of course, all the members of the respective chambers. We really hope this will be an engaging and, of course, not only serious, but also a fun webinar. The person who will make it fun and interesting, I hope, will be Nicolien Hendrickx. And she works for TNO, Innovations for Life. I guess most of the Dutch participants know what TNO stands for, but we will not disclose because it's actually one of the questions we have for the audience. So that will come later in the webinar. Let me quickly introduce Nicolien. Although you could have read her resume and her bio already in the event page, but just a few things which I think stands out, as he steers the agenda of the Logistic Innovations Roadmap and collaborates with port authorities, shippers, but also the service suppliers, terminal, airports, road authorities. And the most interesting thing, it's in the private and public sector. And that makes it, I think, an interesting, organization to learn more from. To learn more about what Nicolien has to say. Oh, and by the way, Nicolien is the Senior Business Development Manager, Logistics. I noticed already from our members, the NTCC, a lot of logistic backgrounds are zooming in. but I guess the same would be from our colleagues around the ASEAN region. And actually, Nicolien, if you are ready, without further ado, I would like to ask you on the webinar dance floor and open up this serious gaming webinar. Very good morning to you, Nicolien.
Thank you very much, Hans. You already made me laugh a bit about this, so thank you very much. Yes, so let me start sharing my screen, and then I think it's time for a little poll to challenge our participants a bit on what TNO stands for. So here we are. So good morning indeed, or afternoon actually. Oh, here we go. There we are. Yes, so my name is Nicolien Hendrickx. I'm indeed everything that Hans just mentioned. That's also part of me. Also lovely to know what drives me is to connect people together in order to make innovations work. And today I would like to give you a little bit of the insights of serious gaming. If you have any questions during the session, please put them in the chat. If they're very easily to answer in between, then Hans will mention it to me. Otherwise, obviously, we will go into those questions later on at the end of the webinar. And furthermore, I think it's nice to get a little bit of your understanding of TNO. So could we start a poll, please? So what is your understanding of the TNO organization? And please feel free to vote now. Well, that looks quite promising. I'm happy that not everybody chose the technical nerdiness organization, even though we have a lot of super nerds working for us. But indeed, TNO stands for an independent applied research organization. And what we are here for, founded by the Dutch government, is to help organization create an innovative advantage.
What was impossible yesterday?
Yes. Oh. Can we, yes, quit the poll and we go back to the movie. Let me show you this little movie to get a bit of an idea of TNO.
Can today be a given? It seems like the world is moving faster and faster. So much has changed, yet there's still so much to do. But is change always better? What is possible? How do we define progress? And how do we find the answers in these times of rapid change? Take a look at the world through our eyes, and you will see. We are TNO, a Dutch institute of independent researchers. Our innovations have touched you and the world around you since 1932. It is our mission to provide the right answers and ask the right questions. By combining disciplines and domains, we can tackle any question, however complex. Our thinking never stops. What works, what is needed, and what can be improved. Look through our eyes and you see a future where mobility is safer, smarter, cleaner, where all our energy is generated from sustainable sources, where objects think and people digitize. See the future through our eyes and see a circular economy, industry that innovates, a future in which streets are safe and feel safe, where there is space to breathe, where we can grow up and old together. Because with every innovation, we contribute to a better tomorrow. Take a look at the world through the eyes of TNO and envision the future.
Yes, so I couldn't have explained it any better than this. So indeed, TNO already over 85 years old. We have a turnover of 535 million euros, and let's say that 1/3 of that is actually funded by the government directly, the Dutch government directly, and the other 2/3 are via subsidized programs or direct business to business. We have around 3,400 people working for us, and we do this in a multidisciplinary approach with divided into 9 business units. Well, I'm representing traffic and transport, but luckily via my role as account manager ports and airports, I can really collaborate with all the different business units. And at the same time, and that's also the part with serious games, the multidisciplinary approach is also in that gaming aspect. So let me show you a bit on how we work and what it is we do. So from the theoretical part, obviously there's fundamental knowledge development. Imagine somebody at the university looking out of the window and saying, oh, what if we could do something with autonomous vehicles, or what if we could do something with a blockchain? How can we do that? The fundamental knowledge questions are addressed in that area, and we do that together with universities. But the actual crucial element of TNO and also how we want to work with industry partners is in the lower bottom of the screen. So the knowledge development and the knowledge application. It is great if we could have an autonomous vehicle on the street and it can actually drive there, but it can only function in a full system where there's legislation, where the traffic lights work, where other cars interact with it. So therefore you need to apply it, put it into practice, and actually understand the whole chain of innovation. And that's basically the core of what we do as TNO. So within our department, Traffic and Transport, we have the following vision.
To us, zero is not the starting point, it's the goal. We envision a future with cleaner skies and livable cities through zero emissions. Safety for all in a traffic and transport system with zero casualties. And zero loss, with seamless movement and optimal efficiency in logistics and mobility. We accelerate transitions, offering technical innovations, out-of-the-box solutions, and thorough analysis. We are TNO, and our unit Traffic and Transport is striving for no less than zero.
Yes, so having said that, let's focus a bit on the world of logistics. So what we see as major trends and developments in the world of logistics, obviously everything that has to do with the Paris Climate Agreement, the need for sustainability, but also, and especially given to the current times, everything becomes much more digital. There's a larger pressure on e-commerce and home deliveries. So that really, there really is a necessity to actually have a different chain, have a more transparent logistics chain, and also make use of all the technological developments that are already available to keep moving forward, keep delivering products, and really be able as an industry to deal with, let's say, stronger customer demand. So looking at all these trends, we have formed the following vision. And I always say it's a little bit of a buzzword bingo here. So what we want to work towards is a seamlessly connected, autonomous and adaptive logistics system for all the different transport modes, obviously enhancing efficiency and economic value, but also everything we do has to be sustainable in the way of really future-proof, but also significantly reducing footprint. And by saying that, within all these words, connected, autonomous, adaptive, those are big words, big transitions, and not something you can do yourself, let's say from the addict or just sitting somewhere in a room and have this light bulb coming up and say, okay, well, I have this brilliant idea. How can I implement this? So therefore, I would like to go to an example of what the type of change it is we are looking into, and also then obviously make the connection why serious gaming. So if you look at one of the major transitions that is currently going on, it's the world of automation and high capacity vehicles. And automation is everywhere. People are talking about it. We obviously have a Tesla that can do some work on that. But we particularly look in the world of connected automated transport for long haul and heavy duty transport. And what we see here is it's nice that you have two trucks that are actually able to talk together and then drive across the street together in automated mode, and that they are connected. But in order to actually get this going, you need to understand what is the implication of this on the supply chain for this. How do I schedule my trucks then? What is my business model? Will it actually change? Because now I still need a driver. Maybe then in future times, I don't need a driver anymore. And how will the chain look then? So there's the combination between supply chain and also users. At the same time, what kind of policy do I need to have in place in order to do this? How do we actually get the authority to say yes to this, that we can actually drive on the road? What legal aspects need to be in place? For instance, if in any circumstances an accident happened, who is then liable, and how would you deal with that? What is the effect on the infrastructure if we would now do some rework on the roads? Should we add technology into the road or not? So what is the effect on the infrastructure here? And finally, how does it work with all the data and digital infrastructure that is going on? And is it actually doable? And if we cross a border, or if we have a zone where there's no 4G or 5G availability, what will then happen? Will the car steer itself, or will it just go into the forest, or what happens? So what this actually says is that these type of transitions are multidisciplinary transitions, and you need researchers, obviously business parties, the truck manufacturers, the logistic companies, the shippers, and the authorities all together in this transition. And that's very cool, but at the same time it's also a bit complex, because these worlds not necessarily understand each other or talk the same language, and not always have the same interest to actually drive this further. So then the question will be how to deal with that. And therefore I have this little exercise for you. So what I would like you to do, just for a few minutes or for a few seconds, imagine a car. And I would like you to open the chat, and wait before you push send, please. But imagine a car and describe in 4 words your car. And then in 5 seconds, I will do the countdown, and then please press send so we get all this information here at the same time. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And obviously, I hope there's a lot of input in the chat. Let's see. Ooh. Here we go. Where are you? It was here. Come on. Ah. That's funny. There we are. Chat. For some reason, it doesn't show.
Don't worry, Nicolien, I can read them out to you, so don't worry. So let's give the audience a few more seconds.
Okay, cool. Apparently, it doesn't show the chat on the screen. It's weird.
Okay, Nicolien, prepare yourself, because what I've seen so far in the chat coming in.
Yeah.
Wheels, roof, outside structure, driving mechanics.
Excellent.
Niels from Chiang Mai, electric car. Gideon across the road here in Bangkok, SUV, diesel, 5 doors, Toyota. Oh, I'm not sure we can say brand names. Martijn is mentioning sports, fast, fuel efficient.
Lovely. And that's my point exactly. So if we talk about a car already, everybody envisions their own view and their own ideas and their own concepts of a car. So thank you, Hans. And this is why we use serious gaming to actually deal with that. So, but first again, a question. How are you when it comes to serious gaming? Or games, actually? So please start the poll. Great, lovely. It's great to see, actually, and interesting also. So there are some few fanatics on the actual games that are out now, but also some board games and some old school gamers. And I think you can all still remember how much fun it is to actually game. And that's why we use serious gaming, not only for the fun part, but also to resolve difficult and very challenging problems. So let's continue. Here's the chat, finally. So how do we see this as TNO? We use serious gaming to raise awareness. It originally comes from defense and education of our defense unit to actually help military people in to simulate and to gain awareness in a challenging area, to understand, okay, how should I react if this happens? How should I react if that happens? Obviously, by applying games and serious gaming in logistics or in other transition topics, it really can help to raise awareness, get an understanding of the topic, and it can already be as simple as doing a small quiz and to get an understanding and a memory quiz to get an understanding on what it is we're talking about. We also do it to stimulate collaboration. As said, the transition that we are currently facing, but also just a better collaboration between a shipper and a forwarder. By using a game, you can actually understand each other much better and create also the fundamental conversation on why is it you do it like you do it, and why is it that I do what I am doing. And also generate new ideas. Okay, so if we do it like this, what are then our biggest issues? And what are then also the solutions that we can find in order to resolve these issues? And as said, this can be on the big topics like vehicle automation and connected and automated transport, but it can also be on just collaborating with your customer or with your supplier. The cool part of serious gaming is also that you have the ability to experiment in a safe environment. As said, if we would now just put a connected vehicle on the road and it will drive autonomously on the road, then we don't know what's going to happen. It can end up in the water. It can just bump into another car. There's a lot that can happen on that. So, and I think that everybody has a bit of an idea on that. So what where it really also helps is within the complex and bigger changes, or where there's a high risk in a particular process, you are able to experiment with the innovation, or with the thing that you want to do, without having the damages or the potential damages. And obviously, as said already, it's very powerful as an education tool. So some examples that we are working on, and I will show you one via a short movie again, also because of connectivity issues in a movie. But we've been doing this in different settings. So with bouwlogistiek, it's construction logistics, we are really helping some construction companies to collaborate all together. And to gain insight from the guy that actually is doing the overall is the planner of the overall construction, the guys that are working there, the guys that are delivering the materials. They all are involved in this construction game, and they start to understand, oh, but if you are the overall planner of this construction site, maybe it helps if I forecast a bit better, and if I actually tell you when things are arriving. And for many logistic people, this sounds super logic. And at the same time, when you're a constructor, your core focus is constructing and not necessarily the whole planning, scheduling, and having smooth and reliable logistics operations. The game of Synchromania, it's about synchromodal transport, and I will go into that in the next two slides. And that's a digital game where you are able to be a planner and understand the pressure of a logistics planner, and also understand the pressure of customer demand and customer satisfaction. And at the same time, try to understand if I choose a different mode of transport, for instance, inland barging, or if I choose the rail, what will happen with my lead time, with my cost, with everything. What you also see here is that we use board games. That's, for instance, the Real Cargo Challenge, and there, well, it's actually part of a larger workshop. Where we first start to understand, okay, what are the main challenges in this case, rail transport? How do you look at it from a rail infrastructure manager, from a rail service provider, from the logistics service provider, and from a shipper's perspective on how to actually be able to create more cargo or set more cargo on the rail. And that is a board game where you actually, well, like we do it old school with Monopoly, work together and look at the different insights. So let's go into the example of gaming. And before we do that, I give you a short movie on synchromodal transport, because it helps to explain the challenge that we're actually addressing in the game.
As a consumer, have you ever wondered how the clothes or books you order online arrive at your doorstep? Maybe you have, maybe not, but probably you don't really care, as long as it gets there when you need it. Without realizing it, you give the logistics service provider and shipper the freedom to find the best combination of departure and delivery time, mode of transport, and route. And you trust them to deliver your product on time at the right location. Makes sense, right? In logistics, this is called synchromodal transport, meaning that not all transport conditions are specified in advance. This leaves room for logistics service providers and shippers to find the best transport alternative in the multimodal network. How do we get there? In order to make this happen, logistics service providers should gain trust of their clients by offering transparency and reliability. In turn, shippers should agree to create degrees of freedom in the logistics process. The offered flexibility generates more opportunities to bundle orders, to select the most efficient alternatives, and to switch in case of distortions. Why is this important? Given the expected growth of freight transport on the longer term, limited investments in infrastructure, and increasing need to lower emissions, something needs to change. Assets in the network should be used efficiently. Synchromodal transport is a means to realize this. By using the offered flexibility to select the best alternatives in the existing multimodal network, realizing cost reduction, on-time delivery, and emission reduction, as well as improving the robustness and accessibility of the transport network. These are examples of companies that are already working on the transition towards synchromodal transport.
Yes, so that's a little bit of the background of this topic and what we've been doing with multiple games. So I already mentioned Synchromania, but also the Master Shipper game, which I'm going to show you in a minute, is have these different stakeholders on the table to actually start the conversation. Okay, how do you currently run your process? Why do you make the decisions that you're currently making? And then let the person that's, for instance, currently the shipper, put them in the role of the logistics service provider and vice versa, and understand why it is so important to gain awareness of the decisions that you have to make. And within the Master Shipper, this is really happening, and we obviously did this quite often with a group of companies. And this is one of the movies with a result of that, where you also get a little bit of an idea. The movie is in Dutch, and the subtitles are in English, so please be aware of that.
De Master Shipper game is een computergame die je achter de computer speelt in groepjes van 2 mensen tegelijkertijd. Waarbij je strategieën kan toepassen om vanuit het perspectief als verlader jouw lading te vervoeren.
Het zoeken van de ideale combinatie vanaf de zeehavens richting het inland. Voornamelijk rail, barge of eventueel de truck.
Om uiteindelijk tot efficiënter, betrouwbaarder en schoner transport te komen.
Daarbij hebben we verschillende rondes gespeeld met verschillende partijen hier uit de regio. Weerspiegelt eigenlijk de dagelijkse logistiek. Je gaat echt aan de slag met iets.
En dan zie je dat die groepjes tot hele andere resultaten komen. Wat dan interessant is om juist discussie aan te gaan. Wat hebben jullie nou precies gedaan? Welke strategie heb je toegepast? En hoe komt het nu dat je tot die resultaten komt? En wat ga je in de volgende ronde doen om jouw strategie te verbeteren?
Ja, superleuk. Echt, ik word er enthousiast van. Het eerste spel, dan ben je nerveus, dan leer je. En de tweede ronde was perfect. Dan kan eigenlijk niet wachten om het nog een keer te doen.
Het gaat erom dat er een aantal alternatieven zijn in het netwerk. Waarbij het belangrijk is dat je die set aan alternatieven, dat je die flexibel in kan zetten. Maar die verlader is cruciaal, want als de verlader geen vrijheden biedt om verschillende alternatieven flexibel te gebruiken, dan zijn er eigenlijk geen mogelijkheden en dan werkt synchronaal vervoer niet.
Dit spel kan zorgen voor bewustwording. Waar we echt op moeten focussen is de data-uitwisseling tussen partijen, maar ook de samenwerking tussen die verschillende partijen.
Als ze experimenteren met verschillende strategieën, dat ze toch ook wel ontdekken dat er echt voordelen te behalen zijn als je meer synchronaal vervoer gaat gebruiken.
Maar we moeten het wel samen doen, want daar leren we van.
Yes, and again, here you see that this is a collaboration with all different, oops, there we go, all different type of parties again. And the essence here is that by doing this game, it's part of a larger workshop, you are able to have this conversation with your neighbor, with your customer, with your supplier, also with the policymaker, to really start understanding each other, start building a common view of the car that we all described earlier this morning. And that is one of the essence of gaming and how it can be applied. So that was a bit my story, and actually I am quite curious on any questions and how gaming can actually help you. So yeah, for me, time for questions now.
Thank you very much, Nicolien. Let me open up my video in this webinar as well. I just send out another chat to everyone indeed to ask questions if there are any questions, because I guess what you described was fairly clear. The videos of course helped, and the examples given makes it also lively. In the meantime, just something you mentioned earlier in your presentation, so I wrote down a question myself. I guess you mentioned simulations, and of course today's webinar is about serious gaming. I remember in the past few months, throughout all these webinars we co-organized together with all the chambers in the region, we also had a webinar about simulations. Can you please describe in your words what simulations and serious gaming, what the, let's say, the contrasts are, what the overlapping is, or whether they're completely different?
Good question, thank you. It's interesting. What we see is while simulating, let's say, for instance, single model transport in a simulator, it's mostly a computer model that is reviewing the possible outcome and showing the possible outcome. The cool part with gaming is that as a person, you are making the decisions as you are in real life. So if I am a shipper and I have to make a decision between the truck or the train, and I see that my schedule is super tight and the train is not going to make it, I'm able to experience the pressure and really almost feel it, how it is that I have to make this decision between truck and train. And so simulation can sometimes be part of a game, but mostly it's the extra layer that's on top of it, of being in control yourself, being able to set, as mentioned in the movie as well, set the strategies yourself and understand what it is to be in that role or be in that position. So if I am a policymaker and if I close all the highways surrounding the port and only the rail is available, if I am then put as a policymaker, put in the role as a planner, oh man, how do I get this cargo away? And that's not something you can simulate because you don't feel it. And when you're in a game, you're actually able to feel this, how do you say? Well, feel this experience and make it an experience for yourself. And then you gain awareness of the situation and also gain a better understanding of the effect or the potential effect of a choice. So that's where the biggest difference is.
Great, thank you for your answer, Nicolien. In the meantime, we received a few questions. Let me read out the first question from a man V. How many or suitable industries, businesses that able to apply serious gaming? He says, I knew Lego serious play and some strategy workshop that used the game. Maybe if I understand the question right, would this be applicable to all sectors, or would you say, no, it will only be suitable to certain sectors? How would you define that? And another question that maybe I have after reading this, is this only feasible, also financially feasible, in collaboration with the big multinationals, or you would say the SMEs definitely have also their logistical issues or other sectors issues, we can help or we can support them as well?
Yeah, valid question, both, thank you. So on one hand, is this applicable for multiple topics and multiple industries and questions? Yes, definitely. And there is a process that supports that. So obviously you start with understanding, okay, what is it you want to achieve? What is the best method to actually achieve what you would like to achieve? And then a serious game can be a solution. And sometimes a small workshop or an intervention can also be a solution. But serious gaming is really helpful in any case where there are multiple stakeholders that really needs to set a step in their own mindset. And as said, create a common understanding. And a common understanding can be understanding the process that we have to follow all together in order to get from A to B. It can be like together in the construction area or in the logistics area. So it can be there, but serious gaming is mostly done with, let's say, a multi-stakeholder environment, because you need the different insights from the different parties involved. Then your question, should there always be a big party or multinational involved versus the SME? No, definitely not. Actually, and that's why this is also one of the elements why TNO is so heavily involved in serious gaming, because it's not super easy to create them. There's a whole psychological aspect behind this. So we really use our own people that are specialized in that psychological process in order to create the game. And that's why we use partly, for instance, governmental funding to create a game that is usable for all these SMEs. Because if you look at, for instance, the construction game, the construction industry in the Netherlands, of course, there are some larger players, but mainly it are SME and people, just the guy, the plumber that is working there on the side, and he also needs to understand this and be part of this. And the same counts obviously for logistics. So what we try to do also with creating these games and creating a license for this game is to make sure that the license can be spread out, so other people can make use of it via license construction, and then we can make sure that the game stays accurate and also helpful in time. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. I think so. It does, and I understand also Stefan. He made a remark that serious gaming is nothing really new, because I think it started, according to him, already like 10-15 years ago in certain companies. So indeed, the answer was well replied. Thank you for that. Another private question came in about, you mentioned government funding. Now, the organization, I think, started in 32, so 85 years ago. So should we be worried about governments pulling out in funding organizations like yourself? The question basically is, how sustainable is this in, let's say, 10-15 years? Or do you see the government actually will increase their say into organizations like yourself?
Well, as said, TNO is an applied research organization founded by law. So by Dutch law, so I don't think we're going to go anywhere. And we are in the middle, as said, between the universities and the business, so really into the application area. And even though the funding model has changed, so only 1/3 of the funding comes from the government, and the other one via the programs, the subsidized programs that we're currently having in the Netherlands and in Europe, but also from direct work all over the world. That is still a sustainable business model. But yes, as said, we are founded by the Dutch government and by law, so we will be there. Looking at the games, if we're talking about that element, obviously you always, at a certain point in time, gaming is something that we keep on doing, because the transitions and the changes that we foresee in the future and in the near future and the further future are getting more and more complex. And that's where gaming is getting more relevant than it used to be 10-15 years ago. Obviously, the amount of, let's say, digitization and IT savviness in organization is increasing as well. So the use of games in small or in large extent becomes much easier, basically, and it's then also an easier learning method.
Good. Thank you for that extensive reply. And thank you, Roman, for your comments to, let's say, the group as well. Thanks for sharing. Another question which pops in, you mentioned a few times indeed, sorry to say again, because Dutch, funding and money.
Okay, no problem.
Just for clarity, the games you develop in collaboration, companies, when they approach you, whether small or big, do they need to be typical 100% Dutch-owned companies, or can it be the partner companies like most of they are here in this part of the world? So how Dutch do they need to be to be applicable for, let's say, TNO to consider applying and try to do something with games?
Well, in general, because gaming and creating games is quite a unique type of knowledge, we don't have to do it just for Dutch organizations. It is something that the serious gaming, because we're not in the business of Microsoft and the FIFA, but from a serious gaming perspective, that is something that everybody that has this particular question can always come towards us and say, okay, we would like to do this. Can we do this, for instance, with a group of organizations, or can I do this for my organization particularly? Then obviously you always have to look at who benefits from it, and if we invest, let's say, a part of our research money into a topic, then there needs to be research questions addressed. But mostly then it's combined funding, and then obviously it's always welcome to do that with partners anywhere in the world. We also have an office in Singapore, so that is actually there for your side of the world. Let's put it that way. And with that, we always have the connection between the Netherlands and Asia. So for us, we know it's particular knowledge, and we do this also. We collaborate, for instance, with the University of Delft in the Netherlands. They also have from the defense and security part have quite some knowledge on gaming. So we collaborate very closely in order to well, get the right games and the right knowledge in place. So it's always open for other parties. There doesn't necessarily have to be one Dutch partner involved, but there is a different funding structure attached to it, whether it's in the Netherlands or whether it's via EU funds or whether it's with parties directly somewhere else in the world.
Okay, well, thank you for that clarity. I also raised a final question opportunity for the audience, and it's very quiet, so I guess everything was clear. Thank you for mentioning the fact that TNO has the regional head office here in Singapore. I'm sure our colleague Ingrid is collaborating with them. This might then also be well, let's say an open remark to the audience. Whenever we are receiving questions or requests to support, let us know, and I'm meaning we as the Dutch chambers in this region. We would love to collaborate and of course share knowledge. That's, if I'm reading, they say your vision or the strategy of TNO, it really overlaps a lot with what Dutch chambers in this region tries to do. Of course, we're not that sophisticated with research centers, but we do share knowledge and we do like to collaborate, and we also involve our public and private partners in various discussion and various communication. So I guess there's a lot of opportunities out there to collaborate and to also promote TNO and the opportunities there might be for the companies who are members of our organizations to participate, collaborate, and collectively organize and create games. And that will then helpful for a lot of people in that particular industry. Before saying a final few thank you words, I would like to recommend everyone also to have a look at the TNO's website. You will there see what kind of topics they address, what kind of questions, fundamental questions and the answers to it, but also a lot of information about all the sectors. So where perhaps today's webinar was zooming in on the logistics sector per se, there are a lot of sectors where TNO is engaged in. I'm sure Nicolien has a lot of colleagues in fields of various other technical important sectors.
Definitely.
Right,
Yes.
and then also the Singapore office can of course always engage in that respect. I'm looking at the chat. I don't see any other questions. I see some nice remarks again. Roman, apparently you have the experience in these particular serious games. So thank you for sharing your final remark. It's 45 minutes. I think it's nice in time. It's to the point. We love that as Dutch. These are the final thank you words, Nicolien. Here you will also have your mobile phone, I see in the Netherlands.
My contact details, yeah.
Just in case, feel free everyone to reach out to Nicolien directly. We have also agreed that the shares you have seen today, sorry, the slides you you have seen will be shared if you asked for them. So please drop an email to us, and more than happy to share them. We will probably upload this recorded video version tomorrow. So in case you would like to share this to everyone, you can always, look back or share this recorded video to your colleagues or to whoever you want to share this with. Allow me to say thank you, Nicolien, for your time, sharing your knowledge, the serious game industry. I think it's an interesting topic for future collaboration, like I said, reaching out to not only the multinationals, but also the SMEs, especially in this part of the world, where agility and innovation is, of course, very important. So I would like to give you a digital bunch of flowers, and thanks for you and your time and all the preparation as well. And I would like to say thank you, of course, to the viewers. Thank you to all the collaborating partner chambers here in the ASEAN region under the ADCN umbrella. Thank you, colleagues, for your support, and thank you to your members to zooming in as well. And last but not least, stay zoomed also for the next ADCN webinar, which will be organized next Thursday already on the 5th of November. And that will be done by our colleagues from Indonesia. And that will be Mr. Paul Polman. I'm sure the Paul Polman name rings a bell. He used to be former CEO of Unilever, and he will discuss as a topic, building back better. As you can see, we like to collaborate together with our chamber colleagues. We also like to share knowledge and bring a great audience and bring a great bunch of speakers to you. These are the final words. So Nicolien, thank you again. Thank you, audience. I wish everyone a nice afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and stay tuned for more webinars in the future. Bye.
Bye-bye.